The Jake Asman Show will begin shortly. Thanks to all these great Patreon members who help support the show. Get your super chats ready. Jake will be here in just a moment. If you love the New York Jets, this is the place to be. And now, the Jake Asman Show.
We are live from the Senior Bowl, live from Radio Row in Mobile. Practice officially underway yesterday. Some takeaways from that. I got Dom C and Dylan Terriman. Dom C and Dylan Terriman hanging out with us. It's the Jake Asman Show, and of course, we're talking about the Jets. John Gruden, what? That and much more. A day after the Jets fired Tanner Engstrand. Let's do it.
Live from the 2026 Senior Bowl from Hancock Whitney Stadium, Mobile, Alabama, as your New York Jets look for their next superstars. Some of your favorite analysts and special guests will join Jake to break it all down. Get ready, Asmaniacs. It's the Jake Asman Show.
Here we go. Welcome in, everybody. Let's talk all things Senior Bowl, and let's talk all things Jets. Gentlemen, when we put together the plan for the week, we figured we'd be spending so much time talking about the different prospects. We figured we'd be talking about the different takeaways on the practice field, and we certainly will get into that. But, of course, the Jets being the Jets, they are the talk of Mobile, and it has nothing to do with anything positive on the actual football field with these practices. It is all about the fact that yesterday the Jets fired their offensive coordinator, Tanner Engstrand, on January 27th, and they have begun a search for a new OC. Let's just get you the latest here since I last signed off the air after doing an emergency stream. They've begun the interview process because now you can't just hire Frank Reich as a consultant and keep Engstrand as the OC. You now have fired Engstrand, which means you got to start a brand new search for an OC, which means you need to be compliant with the Rooney Rule. So the Jets have interviewed tight ends coach for the Cowboys, Lunda Wells. So he's the first known candidate that they've requested and now have spoken with for the job. And again, they got to meet the Rooney Rule requirement. Here's one of the two interviews they would need to do to meet that requirement before they just end up hiring Frank Reich, because again, that's kind of where the wind feels like it's blowing. So Dom, I'll start with you. First time I've had you on since the Engstrand firing. Here we are. Your thoughts on it, and the process to hire a new OC is officially underway.
The process is broken, Jake. I hate to tell you that the process is never really, it's been sputtering since the get-go. This season was bad enough as a fan, but since the season has ended, it seems that this is a rudderless ship that seems to be sinking. I have no words. I have nothing. I'm not sure what the direction of this team is in regards to our coaching, and scheme and everything else. I mean, I hate to say, I understand the LOL Jets.
Yeah, it's really never a dull moment with this team, and it feels like they're the third most covered team leading into the Super Bowl, the two teams playing in the Super Bowl, and then the Jets. For better or worse, they're always just talked about no matter what. And when you have the 32nd best owner in sports and you hire a flawed process with the 33rd team and you end up getting the 32nd best head coach in the league, this is going to be the result. So you can point the blame at anybody in the building, and you're probably right on this one, but just reeks of incompetence, unfortunately. And as much as Dom and I would love to sit here and talk about, the prospects that we saw yesterday, this is unfortunately what we have to talk about with this team.
It's just sad. It really is, because it didn't need to be this dysfunctional. The Jets have just fired Tanner Engstrand right after the year, fired the assistants like every other team does. You're not being dragged through the mud like the Jets now are. And the reason why you get all these reports that paint the Jets as a dysfunctional mess is because, well, you make it easy for the media to do some digging into how dysfunctional you are when they see an offensive coordinator being fired a month basically after your season was already over. So Lunda Wells, the first known candidate, it just feels like a total sham process. It feels like Frank Reich will end up being their guy. Signs point to that. I can't sit here and tell you that's an upgrade over Tanner Engstrand, but okay, Frank Reich wants to get a paycheck one final time. God bless him. Enjoy it. Here's what we do know, though. We know that the Jets, according to Zach Rosenblatt, actually reached out to John Gruden about the idea of joining Aaron Glenn's staff, and Gruden wasn't interested in the job. And when I read this last night, one, I had to check to make sure it was real because I'm thinking, John Gruden? And then two, I'm thinking to myself, well, okay, it's real. And of course he's not interested in joining Aaron Glenn's staff. He probably laughed at the idea of being Aaron Glenn's play caller. The only scenario where you get John Gruden on your staff is if he's the head coach. So the idea that they were going to be able to get John Gruden, like I guess you ask and you get told no, who cares? But it just kind of shows you there's no plan. They're just completely rudderless right now, throwing out names to try and fix this situation. And again, you go back to everything that we were told Glenn was going to be able to do. It was going to be able to hire great coaches. No one wants to work for him a year into the job when he was historically inept. And now you go into year two with him being viewed as dead coach walking.
Yeah. I mean, Jake, would you consider it a reach at this point if, the media, shitstorm gets so bad that Woody just intercedes and just cuts the head off the dragon and just fires Glenn as well?
Would he not be justified if he did that?
No, absolutely, he would. Yeah, and it's probably something that should have happened already if we're being honest.
Right. Again, and there was a long thread from Rosenblatt covering it, how the coaches originally were led to believe they were sticking around, and then something changed. It's like there's no real plan. Like Aaron Glenn promised a plan. He does not have a plan. It is obvious that they have continued to change their plan on the fly, and there's nothing you could point to that should make any Jet fan feel confident that the guy ultimately in charge of making these hires has any idea what he's doing.
Diana Rossini says that the Jets have a plan. She says the Jets have a plan. Stay tuned.
I can't wait for her athletic article. Yeah. You know what that was? That was her trolling the Jets. Exactly. She's liked a couple of my tweets where I've gone after Glenn's hypocrisy with some of the things. So I'm telling you, the media is circling now because Glenn was an a-hole to them. So now that the gloves are off, they're going to come after him. Get ready for the athletic story that's going to drop within the next couple of weeks here. There's something coming. You just fired all these coaches. What are they going to do? They're now all going to talk. So I think we are just scratching the surface on the level of dysfunction that is going on inside the organization.
Yep. Yeah. And like I said before, you can point the finger at any person in that building and you're probably correct in terms of who to blame for this. It just seems, and again, we're not absolving Glenn of any, wrongdoings here because clearly the whole process is flawed. But when something just changes on a dime with this franchise specifically, man, it reeks of Woody. And we will never know what the true involvement of Woody Johnson is with this team. And we would have thought that maybe he would give them a little bit more time to allow the hypothetical plan to come to place, but it's not happening. And, you couple that with the fact that he was super pissed off after the season ended, didn't even attend the last 3 football games. I understand 2 were on the road, but that doesn't matter. It's an owner not showing up for his team. And it just, when things happen like this with the Jets specifically, it's so hard to know what is owner involvement and what isn't. So at this point, you might as well just wipe the slate entirely clean and get new guys from the top down.
Well, here's the thing, right? And you tell me if you guys think I'm off base for this theory. Here's my take on the owner involvement with Woody in particular. I think Woody basically said to Glenn, you can't get both Frank Reich and Wink Martindale. I'm paying you reportedly $12 million a year. You're a defensive coach. You fix the defense. What do you need Wink Martindale for when you're the head coach? And then they also wanted to hire Frank Reich. It's like, you get one or the other. Like, obviously, you lean with the offense because you're not a defensive guy. But I think Woody is looking at it like, I'm paying you one of the higher salaries in the league for any coach, and certainly any first-time coach. Like, Aaron Glenn is making double the amount of money that Robert Saleh was making, for some context, right? So I think Woody was like, I put all my faith in you, gave you full carte blanche. A year in, you need brand new coordinators on both sides of the ball. And again, I basically think Woody was like, I'm not writing the check for Wink Martindale and Frank Reich. You pick one. Because it felt like the Wink thing was a done deal until it finally got to the time to actually get the deal done. And then something happens. And I think the something was, they also want to add Frank Reich. Well, if you're adding Frank Reich, can you also add Wink? It's like, what exactly do you do if you're Aaron Glenn? So I think Woody basically said, you get one or the other. That's my feeling on how this played out. He wasn't going to pay for both when he's already paying Aaron Glenn $12 million a year.
Do we have to take either or? Can we just not take either?
And that's what's funny about this whole thing. Neither would be that great, right? It's not like you're getting, like, if this was 2017, awesome. Let's get Wink and Frank Reich. Now we have a kick-ass coaching staff. But, like, just again, I want to emphasize this because it's so historic what we're watching. The only example that you could find of a head coach who won 4 or fewer games in year one replacing both of their coordinators. And forget just the 4 or fewer games. The only example you could find of any first-year coach replacing both coordinators is Hugh Jackson with the Browns.
Ugh.
Again, the Browns went 1-15 in 2016, and they fired both their coordinators. And then they went 0-16 in 2017. Like we're in the Hugh Jackson era of Jets football right now. It's pathetic, and like this fan base does not deserve the BS that we're getting from this head coach who's telling us, "Trust me, bro," and all these things that just have not come close to anything we were expecting. And I will play this again for those who missed it yesterday. This was Aaron Glenn after the Jets coaching staff was put together. This was him at the combine, first time he spoke since the coaching staff was assembled. And this was AG discussing his staff. Listen to this nonsense.
Listen, I think the most enjoyable thing was getting the coaching staff, because there's so many coaches out there that everybody wants you to get, and there are all these names. But I'm a huge believer in getting the guys that's right for the job, and right for the job for us. So listen, if the guys don't have all the big names that everybody wants, they are a hell of a coach. You can find them anywhere. Division II, guys high school, other coaches that are assistants of other teams. And that's what I did. And it took a while to do that. And I want to take a while because I want to make sure I get the right guys. And I said this before, compatibility is just as important as coachability, because you want guys that can actually coach together. Whatever my weak spots are, man, somebody can help me with those weak spots. And that's vice versa along the coaching staff. And I did everything I can to try to make sure I do that. And I think we have an outstanding coaching staff. They're going to do a hell of a job for us. And it's just like going to get players. I want guys going to help us be able to win. Right? And that's what this coaching staff is going to do for us.
You hear that from Aaron Glenn, and I mean, how does anyone have any faith in him when he's fired now over 50% of his staff and both coordinators? Again, like it gets to a point where, well, we're justifying, you keep Glenn and you're bad next year, but it's like you don't want to throw away another year. There's capable coaches that are out there right now. Like, don't you owe it to your fans to step up and do something if Woody Johnson is on the fence? And again, if he's limiting Glenn's ability to hire, in my theory, both Wink and Frank Reich, you basically get one. I'm not paying for both. Then just fire the head coach, because no one is qualified as taking any of these jobs now to work for Aaron Glenn. Like John Gruden, you're talking to him about joining Aaron Glenn's staff. Just make him the head coach at that point. What's the difference? Like, at least Gruden will provide some excitement for the fan base that is desperate for anything. And again, I'm not in love with the idea of John Gruden either, but like we have reached a point with Glenn where it feels like it's like almost an untenable situation, and it's January and the season is still, 8 months away from starting back up.
Yeah, it feels like the Wink stuff, like you mentioned, it's definitely that reeks of Woody. Like, to me in particular, like, I'm not going to pay you, and I'm not going to pay a new DC to come in here that you're going to hand the keys to this defense. And I mean, making decisions based off money, if you're Woody Johnson, is just the wrong way to look about this whole situation. If anything, he should go the opposite course and say, hey, be aggressive. I need to give my coaching staff the best that they possibly can have going into year 2, so that we don't have this situation arise again, because we know what happens when Woody meddles. You make it 5 games into the season and you're probably getting fired, just like Robert Saleh. So I would say the Wink stuff for sure smells like Woody all over it. And it's really unfortunate because, again, we're not absolving Glenn of any blame in this situation here. He put together a bad staff, but now it feels like he's going to be operating with one hand tied behind his back after making a bad staff. So, like, does he get the full second chance to put together a good staff? Probably not. But at the same time, I don't blame Woody for not necessarily wanting to open up the checkbook if he is paying Aaron Glenn that much money. It's like, it's just ridiculous how no matter what path you want to go down, there is like a barricade in the middle of the road that stops the Jets from going to the next level of being just a competent organization. We're not even asking for the moon, right? We're not asking to be a Super Bowl perennial contender, just be a competent organization. And there's just roadblocks everywhere, no matter which way you turn on this thing.
I'm to the point where I think the best move for Woody and the thing that could really spin this in positive is to just scrap everything and start fresh. You know what I mean?
That's it. It feels like we're headed there anyway. It's just a matter of.
Well, that's what I'm saying. If that's where it's going to lead us for 2027, just start. Get ahead of the game right now.
All right.
You have 4 picks in the top 44. In the top 44, you have 10 or 11 picks total. You want a dead man walking being the cog, the main cog behind selecting all these hopefully future foundational pieces for the Jets? No.
It's tough just to sit here and everyone knows the coach is awful. Like just talking to people all throughout the Senior Bowl here, whether it be someone who works for a team or anyone in media, front office people, coaches, you talk to them about the Jets and you get laughed at. Like it's just like, oh, what are they doing, man? Like they looked at like the biggest joke, and it didn't need to be that way. And I know fans don't care about this, but this is why it matters. The perception of the Jets being as bad as it is, when you fire assistant coaches and let them kind of dwindle for weeks, and some of them thought they were safe. Scott Turner and Tanner Engstrom reportedly thought they were safe, and then they ultimately get fired. You're a disaster. Like, it's unbelievable. Ethan Greenberg's here. I feel bad he's got to actually work for the Jets. I mean, they're an utter disgrace. Ethan, good to see you, man. It's just I can't sit here and do another year of this coach when everyone knows he's a laughingstock, and they're not going to do anything of substance. They're going to let him oversee these 4 picks in the top 44, and you're not burning them necessarily, but obviously in an ideal world, you have your coaches in place. You're starting to build your draft board. You're scouting players that fit the coach's scheme. We have no scheme in place on offense or defense right now.
Yeah.
We are behind the 8 ball to the ultimate degree in late January going into February, when the advantage the Jets would have by retaining their head coach is that you would have a real organizational plan going into the offseason to get your ducks in a row, learn from your mistakes, and get your staff in place. And now the Jets are just starting their search for basically a brand new coaching staff outside of a couple of position coaches. That's it. Everyone else is going to be brand new. You're already behind the 8 ball. It's going to affect your draft process. Like, these coaches should be hired starting to study the film on potential free agent targets and who fits what scheme. We don't have anything in place right now. You are completely behind the 8 ball, and I don't understand how it got to this point where Glenn is letting these coaches just hang in limbo. Like, be a professional, have a plan, stick to it. And it's clear, reading the rules from yesterday, he has changed whatever this quote plan is multiple times.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There's no direction whatsoever, Jake. I mean, I don't know how many times we can talk about it or what way we can spin it, but none of it is good. It's just total dysfunction.
And just for the current landscape of the NFL, there are, according to Ari Mirov, there has been at least 18 new offensive coordinators this season, or will be 18 new offensive coordinators this season. 8 of the 18 have been hired. So that leaves 10 franchises still needing an offensive coordinator. The Eagles, Giants, Broncos, Browns, Steelers, Ravens, Jets, Cardinals, Raiders, Bills. If they're not the bottom of the list, they're the second from the bottom of the list. Like, it's that bad. So now we are competing with 10 other franchises that need an offensive coordinator. There's about 5 or 6 teams that still need a defensive coordinator, I believe. So you're just fully behind the 8 ball. And at this point, you might as well just wipe the slate clean and try again. And I think the fact of Aaron Glenn being here makes it less attractive than if it was just an open head coaching gig.
Agreed.
That would totally bring in more like who was it? Mike Tannenbaum was saying with you on the radio that people are envious of the Jets situation.
Yeah.
First of all, that's just laughable. But also, if that was even the slightest bit true, wiping the slate completely clean, both at GM and head coach, would probably make you the most attractive in real time. Right now, we're not attractive whatsoever. We're roadkill on the side of the highway that everybody's just passing by and they smell it and they're like, oh yeah, I don't want to be a part of that. That is the Jets right now.
Looks like there's one less defensive coordinator job open. Jimmy Leonard's going to the Chargers.
Oh, at least it's not the Bills. That's one positive news. Well, so the Chargers are going to run it back with Harbaugh at head coach.
I'm sorry, I read that wrong. He's interviewing today with.
Damn you, Dom.
My bad.
Damn you. Unbelievable. Comments, questions, super chats. They cut the line. Appreciate everyone tuned into the show. Apologies for the terrible picture quality. We tried using Dom's hotspot. He has LTE. I only had 5G, and I'm told it's a little better. But as long as you guys could hear us, that's all that matters. We had a great interview with Mike Washington, the running back at Arkansas, that will drop on the channel earlier. We'll get a chance to talk to more prospects a little bit later, so we'll have some content coming on our channel. Dom will have some content. Dylan's putting out videos on his. So if you're interested in the actual Senior Bowl stuff, we will certainly provide that for you. And we will get some takeaways from both Dom and Dylan shortly here on day 1 of practice. But again, the Jets remain this story because they don't have any coaches. Again, I'm just going to read what is open right now. OC, DC, pass game coordinator, quarterback coach, D-line coach, linebackers, assistant DB coach, 2 defensive assistants.
Mhm.
It's January 28th.
But we have rising star Chris Harris.
I saw Albert Breer last night, and I didn't get a chance to talk to him about rising star Chris Harris. I did talk to Ian Rappaport about Aaron Glenn. Would you like to recap that conversation, Dylan?
In the midst of all the laughter at the table, watching this interaction go on, it was truly hilarious. Jake's feeding him all the stats, historically bad.
He was trying to defend Glenn. He's like, well, Jake, they do play hard for him. I go, what?
At one point, Ian just looks at Jake. He's like, yeah, I don't care about that stuff. We just died laughing at the table. It was truly a hilarious exchange last night.
Yep.
We offered him to buy him another beer to have to sit here and listen to Jake going on because, oh boy, Ian was in a bad spot. He wishes he didn't stop and talk to you.
He loved it. He had a great time. And we talked about his Mets. I'm like, you get it. You're a Met fan. I don't want to hear this. All right, some super chats here. By the way, I added a couple new raffle prizes. Thanks to everyone who continues to support the channel. Our top prize next week is a signed Garrett Wilson helmet. Prize number 2 is a signed jersey by C.J. Mosley. And prize 3 is a signed jersey by Joe Klecko. So we have multiple eras of Jets covered in our raffle. I'll continue to add some prizes because we'll be at the Super Bowl next week. So we'll add something Super Bowl related, probably something Joe Willie Namath, because that's our crowning achievement, of course, this time of year as Jet fans. Mike Perez is the first to enter today. He's in for 2. Is Cliff Kingsbury getting coaching interviews? He's out there right now. What are your guys' opinion on him being a potential OC? Why would he take the job?
Yeah, he's from what I understand, I thought he was in line to be the first and foremost guy to be the OC with Baltimore, I believe.
And I haven't heard the latest on that, but that'd be a good hire by them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know where it ended up.
Yeah, Minters seems like he's putting together a decent staff, so Cliff would be cool there. Again, if you're competing for a coach, it doesn't really matter who the other team is outside of maybe the Philadelphia Eagles offensive coordinator job, which nobody seems to want and everybody's turning down. You're not going to get the guy that you want. You are going to get the leftovers in all of these coaching searches, unfortunately.
More super chats here, and then we will give you some takeaways from practice. Rasta Dread, thank you for getting a membership. He's in for 1. Jim writes in, can you elaborate on what happens during a coordinator or head coach interview or possibly a separate show on this? I don't really think we need a separate show on this. I mean, it's an interview. There's questions about what scheme are you going to run? What assistant coaches are you going to bring in? Who's going to be, part of your staff? What is your vision for what the offense is? How do you see this quarterback working in your scheme? If they don't have a quarterback, hey, we're thinking about taking these guys in the draft. What are your early impressions on that? It's just you ask a wide range of questions depending on what the specific role is. So I'd imagine in any interview for the Jet OC job, Aaron Glenn's asking the question, hey, what your scheme is? Have you thought about any veterans out there that we could bring in? What is your take on how to develop a rookie quarterback? What are some of the things that you've seen implemented to help a guy develop?
Who do you want on staff?
Right. Like I think it's basically scheme and staff would be probably the biggest question. Because if you're going to hire an OC, you got to let him pick some of the assistant coaches that he's going to work under him, deploying the scheme he wants to run.
Sure.
Yeah, it feels like it's not even that intricate of a process, right? If you've gone on a job interview before, everybody except for maybe Charles Gorman, you would know some of the questions that they're going to ask. Now you just relate that to football and it's like, okay, how do you manage people? How do you work well with others? Who do you see as an ideal fit for the job that you want to do? And how are we going to go about making that work for you? So I feel like it's like any other job interview. It's not really that in depth from like a intricacy standpoint, but yeah, I mean, it's important. You have to be able to first get the right guys in the building. You have to identify if the answers they're giving you are just fluff or if they're actual real good quality answers. And then you go from there to see who the best guy is for the job.
Look who it is. We got Richie from Jets Media right in front of us.
Come on, Rich.
We'll do a little tag team here, a little swap out. I love it. Let's bring Richie on. He's usually the most optimistic Jet fan here, so let's put Richie in here. Let's put a name tag for him. Beautiful, Richie.
Boys,
how we feeling?
I'm feeling great, man. This is for Senior Bowl stuff, right? Not Jet stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's funny. I said we talk Senior Bowl. I got like the 2 best draft guys you could have here, Jet related, to tie it all in, and I can't even get to the Senior Bowl stuff because no one cares about that right now. It's all about the Jets being a dysfunctional mess.
The Jets dominate the headlines no matter what. I mean, at all times. I mean, no matter what is going on with the Senior Bowl. I mean, it happened last year too. The Jets are always talked about, even when we are trash.
What was your reaction to the Engstrand news? Because I know you were a fan of his.
Yeah, I was shocked. I mean, first of all, we found out early or late last week that they're demoting him, but he's staying on the coaching staff, and they're going to go after a veteran as the offensive coordinator, potentially a potential play caller. And then Tanner's like, well, if I'm not going to be the play caller, then probably get me out of here. So it's really questioning everything, because I felt like Tanner Engstrand never was really given a fair opportunity given the quarterback situation. But now, obviously, you evaluate him. He's got to be a coach that is capable of building a system that can get the most out of his players, which we also did not see. So obviously Aaron Glenn wants to get a senior in the building to run the offense, and Tanner Engstrand had other ideas.
Yeah, Richie, my question for you is, with no offensive coordinator, with no defensive coordinator, we don't know the scheme. How the hell do we watch these guys at practice and say that might be a fit for the Jets, other than just completely guessing?
Yeah, there's literally no scheme you can go into right now because there is no coach. Is a great question. Here at the Senior Bowl, you're looking at these prospects. You're just looking at position of need right now, which is a lot. I had Lee Hunter, defensive tackle from Texas Tech, on my show this morning.
Legs, baby.
That was really fun. And I was like, okay, I may be a little biased now since, I interviewed him, but I want the Jets to draft him if he falls into the second round. But that's a pure run stuffer. The Jets obviously need a defensive tackle. And funny story about that interview real quick. I asked him, who do you model your game after? And he's like, Derek Brown. And he's like, yeah, also the defensive tackle from the Jets. And I'm like, well, Quinnen ain't with the Jets anymore. So
He forgot Quinnen got traded?
He's like, I don't want to correct him or anything, but I'm like, unless he's talking about Harrison Phillips or Juwan Briggs. But I
Could you
think
imagine modeling your game after Juwan Briggs?
Yeah,
I mean, he's a great player, but yeah, we knew he
Great's a stretch. He's a good player.
He's a good player. He's a bright spot on this roster. But yeah, like you said, it's just so tough. You're just looking at positions and names, and you're saying, okay, well, the Jets need a safety. Maybe Kamari Ramsey, maybe Jalen Kilgore. We have no idea what size, thresholds, any of those types of things we want. So we're really going in completely blind, and you try to get the most out of these practices, and you get 4 or 5 pages of notes, and now we're sitting here talking about Frank Reich and Wink Martindale apparently not being the guy. So it's just an unfortunate timing of this. But you were here last year, Richie. Jets news comes out every time we come down to Mobile. As soon as everybody's down here, all 32 teams collaborate, and they just say, what are we going to talk about with the Jets? It's like they're the third team in the Super Bowl every year, it feels like.
It's so dumb. It's just a level of dysfunction that's completely unnecessary. Again, they could have fired Engstrand right away and saved themselves the embarrassment of waiting till January 27th to do it. The way they basically talking with coaches and coaching agents here yesterday, the big thing was just how long they let it drag on. How it looks like you don't have a plan. It's not how you treat staff members. And I'm telling you, when the Athletic in 2 weeks has a tell-all on the dysfunction of Aaron Glenn's first year, it's going to be because all these fire coaches now have a reason to talk and bash the Jets because they got fired and were treated poorly on the way out.
So my question to you is like, what do you think happened? Because apparently Aaron Glenn was transparent with Tanner, saying that you are part of our coaching staff. You're going to be our play caller. But then apparently had a change of heart, like all of a sudden a few weeks ago. And then they had the conversation with Tanner. So Aaron Glenn had one plan, and then he shifted to another plan. What do you think changed? Was it Woody coming in to infiltrate, or do you think Aaron Glenn himself made that decision?
I think Glenn it just probably had some doubts on Engstrand and wanted to try and get someone senior to help. I also think there's a scenario where it feels like they were going to hire Wink, and then Woody stepped in and was like, wait a second, why am I paying $4 or $5 million to Wink Martindale when I'm paying you 12 and you're a defensive coach? Like, you either get an offensive guy and you call the plays on defense, which honestly, I'm okay with Glenn doing that. If you're going to go down, at least go down, doing what helped get you the job in the first place. But I mean, I think it's easy to blame the owner, but what I come back to is this: completely hands off with everything in year one. And Glenn touted this staff as something that he was proud of, and it took a while, but they got the guys they want. And now, what is there to say about this staff? They're a disaster. And for what it's worth, Brian Costello reported on his podcast yesterday that Woody had nothing to do with this. So I just feel like it's easy. And look, Woody's a terrible owner. We know this. But, like, Glenn had full carte blanche to do whatever the hell he wanted in year one, and he hired Steve Wilkes as his DC. And, again, it's like at the end of the day, he's not good at the job. He's not. He's in over his head. He's a good assistant coach. He is not equipped to be a head coach in 2026. And the longer we drag this out, we're the ones who suffer. Because, again, this team's going to be god-awful in 2026 if they let him coach the team.
No, I feel like going into this 2026 season, it's probably like last year we had low expectations for sure because there's a new coaching staff and everything, and we had Justin Fields, but the expectations are never going to be more low than entering this season. A lot of Jets fans are already looking at 2027 of who the quarterback's going to be and who the coach is going to be.
We're doing coaching searches now.
It's really dark times as a Jets fan. You never thought it'd be here, but hey, this is where we are.
Hey, look, when I saw you yesterday, did you enjoy the sticker I gave you?
Yeah, so Jake actually took on the sticker guy role. He was handing out stickers to our intern here at Roundtable. He's going to be with him at the Super Bowl. It's going to be exciting. But yeah, man, I enjoyed the sticker. Sticker Richie, now sticker Jake Asman.
I mean, the chat loves you. They call you Richie Stickers all the time.
Yeah.
All because that scoundrel Jake West falsely accused you of being mean to some kid because you weren't enthusiastic when you handed him a sticker.
Sorry, man. I mean, I was enthusiastic. I thought I was, but apparently wasn't too enthusiastic for that guy, whatever his name is. I don't even remember.
Unbelievable. Comments, questions, super chats. They cut the line. Richie hanging out with us here. What do we got here? Core Curran says, can we finally talk about Jaime? He's the executive. He's supposed to make sure everyone's on the same page. Different coach, same BS. Fire Jaime. Well, that lawsuit that he was allegedly accused of doing some stuff, you haven't heard anything on that, and that one feels like it's completely gone dark. I mean, look, I think the Jets for years have lacked what the Jaguars did with Tony Baselli, what Atlanta's now doing with Matt Ryan. Woody needs to hire someone he trusts that is a football person who the GM of the team and the head coach of the team report to. And that guy could basically give it to Woody straight on whether or not the people he has entrusted in those roles actually know what they're doing. And people have mentioned Curtis Martin or like Chad Pennington, like someone like that, because again, when the business people get involved in the football side of things, they don't know what they're doing. And I think we need a buffer between ownership and football people. And the way you do that is you hire, the Matt Ryan type, what Tom Brady is now doing in Vegas type, although he owns part of the team. You got to do something like that, I think, to truly get like the Johnsons not involved in the football operation. But again, I don't think Woody was involved in year one, and Glenn ran the franchise into the ground. I don't blame Woody for having second thoughts about just letting Aaron Glenn now spend all this money on coordinators. It's like, what do you do, dude? You're supposed to be the guy that is supposed to be able to hire the best staff and identify great coaches. And after year one, you're firing over 50% of your staff and both coordinators. Only Hugh Jackson has done that.
My question to you is, correct me if I'm wrong, the Jets hired Rick Spielman.
Yep.
Isn't he supposed to be that guy you're mentioning?
Well,
and what the heck is his role?
But he doesn't even work for the team in the office. He is basically, my understanding, in Florida where he works, joins meetings on conference calls over Zoom and just watches tape and helps Muji with scouting reports and stuff in the front office.
Yeah, and we know Jaime also, apparently I saw a report where Darren Muji felt slighted in their initial offer for him to be the general manager in terms of like the contract, like whatever money they offered. Mm-hmm. And that's on Jaime. Jaime is the business guy. He's the one that's offering these things. They eventually ironed it out and they signed a contract. But obviously, there's a big culture problem and it starts at the top.
Yeah, flawed processes lead to flawed coaches and flawed GMs, and this is the result. The trickle-down effect is certainly alive and well at One Jets Drive, and it starts at the top. I'll push back a little bit. I know Jake says maybe not so much Woody. I think the Wink stuff has Woody written all over.
Oh, the Wink is 100%.
And the Engstrand stuff, it leans like if Aaron Glenn truly said, "You're fine, you're safe, Engstrand," and then 3 weeks later, all of a sudden he's getting demoted. I don't think AG reverted course. I think that would be a Woody move to say, "Hey, I don't want this to happen like this. We're going to go in a new direction." So,
or Engstrand is flipping out and saying, "Why the hell am I going to stick around and basically lose my job and then have someone else be the play call? I got to go up there and face the media every week, and I'm not even the play caller." Because again, the coordinators speak to the media, so it's going to be like he's going to go up there and say what?
Yes, yeah. So he'll have to stand there in front of the media and take all the arrows for when the offense isn't performing well. Meanwhile, Frank Reich, the fossil, is calling the plays behind the scenes, and he is saved from the media. So it is a tough look. I do believe once this got to a certain point with Engstrand, he just said, "Hey guys, let me go. I can land on my feet elsewhere, and I can get that exact same role at a team that's not the Jets and probably have a better stepping ladder to another offensive coordinator job in the future."
Yeah, I agree.
Payne. Rick says, "Thanks for the awesome coverage, Jake. Appreciate you." Rick, you're in the raffle for 2. Thanks to everyone for the support. The super chats are great. We'll get everyone entered in our weekly raffle. The video quality, I wish we could do something about it, but this place wanted $300 for us to be able to have hardline internet for the day. And I'm like, that is just not worth it. We'll figure out a way on the hotspot. And I thought we had the Dom C hotspot of champions, but it's only slightly better than what we worked with yesterday. But people can hear us, and that's all that matters. So thanks to everyone who's tuned in
Enter
here.
to a new tab and just have the audio on. It's a radio show, the Jake Asman Show.
That's it. That's how this thing. I'm a radio guy at heart anyway. Peter Castro says, "Jake, remember 10 more years. That's 10 more years of being, to quote Peter Castro, being for shit." I hope you're wrong, Peter, but I mean, you're off to a pretty good start. You're 2 years in since you said that. Jetstream says, I don't know how we're here. It's beyond obvious Glenn being a head coach is hurting your organization's chances of building a good team. It's obvious that firing Glenn would be addition by subtraction, yet here we are. Honestly, even if you just made Rex the coach for a year just for shits and gigs, that'd be at least more fun. Like, honestly, they spoke to John Gruden. Would you not rather just John Gruden be the head coach at this point?
I'm surprised they didn't reach out to Rex Ryan to be the defensive
That's
coordinator.
coming next.
Yeah.
That's coming next.
That's the other thing too. Do you think AG called Gruden? I don't.
You think Woody called Gruden?
I think 100%.
It wouldn't,
so.
it wouldn't shock me.
I don't think AG would call Gruden.
Well, did they say in the report the
No,
Jets called?
It just said the Jets called, and he said no.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, because he probably laughed at the idea.
Did they
I got to
think-
work for this guy.
Did they think John Gruden would be down for that? When
I
they-
mean, he's
Yeah,
desperate to get in the league, but he's not going to want to work for Aaron Glenn knowing it's rudderless. Now, the only argument of Gruden taking the job would be, so I get to be the play caller. Glenn will be fired, and then I'm the interim, and then I'm back in the NFL. Someone can give me a job after that, or I can do well with the Jets, I guess, in theory, and be the permanent coach. But, I mean, if they hired Gruden the second they started 0-1, it'd be like, fire Glenn, promote Gruden.
oh my gosh. I mean,
you almost
this-
can't hire a coordinator candidate who could be the potential guy to take over.
Well, that's
for
what
Aaron
Frank
Glenn
Reich is going to be.
mid-season.
Frank Reich's going to be our
Right.
interim
Or
head coach
Wink
by week 7.
Martindale. Wink Martindale would have been the same thing. Gruden would be the same thing. That's, to me, Woody saying, I got to go hire a babysitter. I got to go hire a guy who isn't going to be Jeff Ulbrich in 2024 for the last 12, 13 weeks of the season. I need to get a guy with more like name value and sticker value, like a Wink or a Gruden.
Somebody say sticker. Richie.
Yeah, you're right.
Sticker.
Gotta stay on brand. But yeah, it just feels like we're continuing to hire babysitters, and again, flawed process, flawed result, flawed coach. It's a seamless transition for this team.
Unbelievable. Appreciate your super chat, Jetstream. But this one is from John. He's an Asmaniac using his free super chat you get every month. AG, big ships turn slow. It will take time for us to turn it around. Rabel after year 1 as a supercharged cigarette boat doing donuts around AG. Yeah, I mean it's tough, man. It really is. This
We're
franchise.
sitting right here on the water. We're watching ships come by, most of this day, and I've seen big ships turn a little bit quicker than the Jets are turning here.
It's just such a joke because he came in, he talked this big game, talked about all the things they were going to do to coach up guys and develop their own, and maybe one player got better, Jerron Briggs, that you actually saw like, wow, like this guy was a big surprise. He overachieved and exceeded expectations. There's just nothing. Again, it's become a meme. But what does Aaron Glenn do well as a coach? One of the things people said is, oh, well, he's going to hire a good staff. And one of the things his defenders would say is, well, I like 2 of his 3 coordinator hires. Engstrom's gone now. Like, and he already told him that he planned on demoting him anyway. So you can't say, oh, he's gone. And like, that was all Woody. No, Glenn made the decision himself to say, hey, Tanner, I don't think you're doing a good enough job, when that's really unfair. I'm not saying he was great, but again, look who his quarterbacks were. And if you watch the all 22, which we do every week on the show, there are guys open. There's guys being schemed open. There's some advanced passing analytics stats that show that the Jets actually are getting guys open. They're just quarterbacks stink. It's just, it is so rudderless right now, man. I've never seen the fan base as downtrodden as they are. This is worse than the Gase 2020 year because you knew there was an ending to that. There'd be a new coach coming in. This is like, you have no idea what's happening. You don't even know if Glenn's going to make it through all of 2026. If you're betting on it now, you'd say probably not.
And you also look at what we have in terms of the assets heading into the offseason with cap space and draft capital. And it's hard to even think about that right now because a lot of teams in the NFL are going through coaching search, right? The Eagles are looking for their OC. They can't find that. The Browns are looking for a head coach, the Cardinals, but the Jets, they fired literally everybody underneath Aaron Glenn. So now they have to start from there, and then the coaches need to be installed. And then don't forget the draft process includes, and the free agent process. They don't just look at scouts. They ask the positional coaches their opinions on things. So they're going to have to come in, do homework. It's going to be a delayed process. The one thing that makes coaching staff very successful is continuity. And it doesn't really feel like this is going to be year 2 of the Aaron Glenn's system because it's going to be a redo. Just Aaron Glenn at the top. Now he's going to take on the defensive play call duties, a new offensive system. So there's going to be a new system that the Jets are going to have to install all over again. And you look around the NFL, the best teams usually the one that has the same system and they can perfect it year in and year out. And it's pretty frustrating. And even going like a lot of people, look at Robert Saleh's year 1. His defense was really bad. In year 2, the defense went to top 5. Well, why? They kept Jeff Ulbrich. It was the same staff. It was the same system. And now they're going into year 2 with a new system with Aaron Glenn going to be calling the plays. So it's going to be really interesting to see how this Jets team can be even competitive next year and how he's going to be able to save his job.
It's year 1, 2.0.
Yeah, it's what it feels like.
It's really an unfortunate thing. Full circle because it is the Senior Bowl. Give us a guy you're excited about on the offensive side of the ball.
Yeah, listen, there's one dude that I love the story because he is coming from D3, from John Carroll, Tyron Montgomery.
Yes.
He was a stud yesterday. I interviewed him walking off the practice field, and he literally just started playing football 2.5 years ago. And he was cooking, what was his name, the top corner. I forgot his name off the top of my head. And he was cooking people like top prospects at corner. And he was mossing people, so I had to interview him. He said that he started playing football 2.5 years ago, was originally playing basketball. So that's a really intriguing story. I love this storylines here at the Senior Bowl when you got guys that just started playing ball, coming from a D3 program, trying to get drafted, could potentially be an undrafted guy, but it can squeak to be a 6th round. That's someone I really, really liked. And all the players at Texas Tech, I mean, that college program, there's a lot of guys to like there. I mean, I interviewed their wide receiver. I talked to the defensive tackle this morning. And I also like Chris Johnson, the San Diego State cornerback. I think that he's someone that the Jets can look at on day 3 or day 2 or day 3. So there's a lot of prospects here I'm keeping an eye on.
Absolutely.
And Garrett Nussmeier, not to mention.
I was just going to say quarterbacks. You're just really focusing on Nussmeier. Are you a Pavia guy at all?
I'm waiting. No, definitely not a Pavia guy. No offense. I don't know if
He played well yesterday, though.
He did, though. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, he looked okay.
You know, we were out there waiting for him, and he was like slinging that thing around, putting the ball where it needed to go. Cole Payton definitely intrigues me, you know, the southpaw. But Garrett Nussmeier definitely looks like he's got, you know, a chip on his shoulder. You know, I interviewed him yesterday, and it seems like, you know, he understands that he was the guy entering college last year, and a lot of things went against him for his own rights and other things around him. And now he has an opportunity to reprove himself in a wide open quarterback class. Yeah.
Robbie with a super chat. Seems AG is looking for an offensive head coach to pair with him at PC with the pieces, assets we have with a good hire. What's best case scenario to turn this around? You get the Fitzpatrick year of 2015 from one of these random veterans, and you know you're just better than anyone thinks. I don't really see the best case scenario. The best case scenario for the Jets, I think, is like 6 wins. I don't see how they can win more with like this skeleton coaching staff that is still being put together on January 28th, and like there's no obvious path to getting like this like ass kicker quarterback. Like if you have a path to get like the Jaden Daniels or CJ Stroud of their class at pick 2, yeah, you could flip it real quick. We've seen that, but it doesn't feel like the Jets have anywhere close to the infrastructure they need in place for that to happen. And there's obviously not that quarterback that's coming out that they're going to take it to that can even do that.
Frank Reich, Kirk Cousins, Ty Simpson. That's my bet. That's my guess right now.
That's interesting. Ty Simpson at 16 or trading back?
Probably a trade up from 16.
Trading up from 16, that'd be a terrible idea.
You gotta jump the Rams. You gotta jump the Rams.
Do you like Ty Simpson that much?
I don't love it, but I could totally see, given the entire context of this franchise, the sense of urgency. Their backs are up against this hostage wall that we're sitting at. They need to separate their backs from the wall a little bit. Having a rookie quarterback might give them a little bit of leeway, so that's why I think they might force that pick. But I could also see that's a solid developmental plan for a guy like Ty Simpson to sit behind a Kirk Cousins. If Frank Reich wasn't the play caller and was just the quarterback's coach or the offensive consultant, I would feel a lot better about it. But I feel like we sit here and we try to find the best ways to improve this team, and then the team just goes, yeah, we're going to do something completely different. So I'm trying my best to find the best path for this team. And I could just see it stylistically, Reich, Kirk, and Ty Simpson being the guys trying to turn it around.
Ty Simpson would be a disaster. 15 career starts, and we're going to use a first-round pick on him with a coaching staff that is embarrassing.
Right. Do you like any other quarterback in this class, Jake, or are you like out on all of them?
I liked Mendoza. He'd be the only one.
Yeah. So no day 2 or day 3 guy you're eyeing that you like?
I mean, I'd take a chance on Nussmeier. Sure, I'd take a chance on someone like that. Drew Aller as well. He's got at least the size. And had a year ago was a first-round pick. But here's the problem with Simpson. If you're going to take him, he needs to play. Well, if he's playing, or excuse me, if you're going to take him, he needs to sit. Well, then how do you know if he's ready at the end of the year before a new regime comes in, and then he's going to want their guy with one of the 3 first-round picks? Like Simpson would have to play in year 1 and show something. Problem is, everyone says he needs to sit, so they're going to rush him before he's ready, even if they say, oh, no, this is a developmental year. It can't be a developmental year when Aaron Glenn knows if he doesn't win games, he's going to get fired. And if he can't win games, he needs to play a young quarterback that he can point to and say, see, we got our guy. Now give us another year to build around him. That also could get him a 3rd year. All this just feels pie in the sky. There's no way.
Yeah, I mean it's the biggest mystery. You know, we're first talking about the coaches, but the biggest question mark really is the quarterback position for the Jets. And I feel like there's so many different scenarios you can go about, whether it's pairing up with Kirk Cousins and Ty Simpson. I feel like if you go the Ty Simpson route, you do got to pair him up with a veteran.
Yeah, you got to
absolutely. And I think that by the middle of the season, it's going to be like, do you think sitting him for the entire year, or it will be like a Jackson Dart scenario where he comes in eventually?
Yeah, well, it would all depend on what he looks like in August. And I think Connor Hughes was all over it with Jackson Dart, saying Dart was the best guy in Giants camp in August, like way over Russ, way over Jameis. And that's why Daboll felt comfortable pulling the plug. Plus, his job was on the line. And obviously, it didn't save his job ultimately. Again, we're figuring out the perfect scenario, which would be Ty Simpson plays 2 games in the NFL season in his rookie year, maybe week 17 and week 18. But how realistic is that when AG is staring down the barrel of getting fired, Saleh style 5 games in, and he's like, well, I have the rookie. I got to try to play him. The perfect situation is he would sit and probably redshirt for most of the year. But in an ideal situation, that would be the case. But this isn't an ideal situation. So, of course, the Jets are going to have to do what's best to save their jobs, even if it comes at the risk of setting the team back slightly in the process.
Could have drafted Jackson Dart last year. I was telling everyone.
You were all over it.
Yeah,
dude. You were the Dart guy.
Again, and that would have been logical. Or they could have took Tyler Shuck and taken a chance there and got someone in the pipeline. Like, they did it to themselves. They didn't even try. They just completely punted on the position. Again, it's on them to identify who's like this year's Tyler Shuck. Like, that's Muji's job if he wants to try and take a chance. Doing it at 16, though, when that is a top pick, that's so risky. The earliest I would be comfortable taking a quarterback would be pick 33, but I prefer they trade out of that spot because I think you can get at least a 3rd-round pick in a trade back, and the Jets don't have one currently. And then maybe use that 3rd-round pick on taking Garrett Nussmeier or someone of that ilk in that spot. Taking Ty Simpson at 16, who's played 15 career games in college, that feels like a major bust of a pick right there. Because, again, if he sits and gets proper development, I could see it working out. The Rams take him, he'll be good in 2 years. The Jets take him, he's never going to reach his potential, and we know this because we're watching Sam Darnold playing in the Super Bowl next Sunday.
And that's kind of my philosophy with it. While I'm trying to brainstorm all these team-building exercises, I'm trying to emulate the Rams or any good franchise, insert name here, right? Obviously, the Jets are not these good franchises, but you can't operate scared and say, we're just the lowly Jets. We got to do what the Jets do and take it into interior defensive lineman at 16, right? You got to take your swing at quarterback. So that's more where I'm coming from this. Obviously, a lot of things would have to fall in line for it to really work out, but we can't say, the Rams at 13 taking Ty Simpson. That's a great move. But the Jets taking him at 16 isn't a great move. Like, to me, you have to.
Yeah, but he's going to play right away with the Jets. With the Rams have an infrastructure.
I'm saying you got to put a Kirk Cousins out there, and they're going to have probably Stafford back for another year if he wants to give it a go. But what if Stafford retires and they take Ty Simpson and now he's their week 1 starter and there is no other veteran? So, like,
but they would never do that.
Right. Again, we're trying to emulate a good franchise.
Right. So a good franchise would not do that
right,
scenario.
That's why I said Kirk Cousins, you redshirt Ty Simpson. If that happened in LA and nobody would bat an eye, of course they have the better coaches and the developmental plan in place. But if the Jets want to be serious, they got to have a developmental plan in place for these guys.
And they claim they would have had one for Dante Moore if you believe Connor Hughes.
Yeah, I don't know how true that one was, but
come on.
But that's if that is true, right? Then the Jets are doing it right, in my opinion. To know that Dante Moore has limitations, he needs to sit and he needs to redshirt and learn the game of football at the NFL level. So that's why I'm just kind of applying it to Ty Simpson. I'm not saying I would love that and I give it an A+ grade on the surface, but you have to at least pretend like you're a good franchise in order to become one of these decades.
You got to have the right people to do some of that, though. So that's the problem. Comments, questions, super chats, cut the line. Let's see. Al Gonzalez writes in. Richard, we're going to let you ride. I appreciate you hopping on, my friend.
Well, the Jake Asman show, I just want to say, appreciate the Asmaniacs in the chat. I love you guys. Hit the thumbs up button from my boy Jake. Dylan, great to see you too.
Richie, man.
Jake, much love.
We'll see you later
guys
today.
At the senior.
I can't wait.
Practice, bro.
Dylan, if you want, you can sit there, get the better mic, get the better headset.
I'm going to let Dom hop back in.
Is Dom going to pop in?
Yeah, Dom's popping
All right. Well, Dom is coming over. Let's read Al's super chat here. Last chance. Appreciate everyone for the super chats. Make sure you guys enter the raffle for the new set of prizes. I also want to mention we are presented by FanDuel. If you're betting on the Super Bowl, do it with FanDuel. We'll start to go through the lines and some prop bets next week on the show. The early line for the Super Bowl, though, we haven't done a ton of Super Bowl talk yet because
there's a Super Bowl?
Makes me sick to have to think about the Patriots already with their first-year coach up in New England, being in the Super Bowl. The early line for the Super Bowl, I believe, was 4.5 favoring Seattle. So a lot of money coming in early on the Seahawks. It remains 4.5 over at FanDuel Sportsbook. Let's see. The super chat here from Al says, why is it that the Jet reporters are late with the info? They were out of their depth on Friday's firings. Are they protecting AG or lazy? Look, some reporters are just better at certain type of transactions, and sometimes you just get out scooped. I can't speak specifically why they didn't have the assistant coach firings. I'm not going to bash any of the guys on the Jets beat. I do think the gloves are starting to come off, though, for the Jets beat because they were pushing hard for Wink Martindale. They were pushing hard, and all of a sudden, once Wink Martindale wasn't going to get the job, you have some tweets from some reporters that are now starting to call out Aaron Glenn and bring up old quotes where he's talking about his staff. So think about that. Just saying. Are they protecting AG? I think once it's obvious that Glenn's going to get fired, then they'll go really up and in. But they got to work with him for another year. He hasn't been fired yet, right? They got to go be with him at the owners' meetings and the combine, and they got to be at training camp every day and ask questions at press conferences. And to call for the guy to be fired or go at it with him, I think they're trying to basically not have to do that until it becomes obvious he's done, and then the gloves will come off. It was the same thing with the Adam Gase situation when the Jets were 1-7 in year one, and every fan wanted Adam Gase to be fired at that point. No one on the Jets beat specifically said it's time for the Jets to fire Gase. So, but if you noticed, if you listen to Brian Costello, he was very negative, saying I can't spin this positive at all. There's nothing positive here. Go listen to Zach Rosenblatt or Connor Hughes. Like, everyone knows it's a bleep show. Like, that's what we're getting.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate. I would say from the Beats perspective, yes, they can't ruffle feathers currently. I would anticipate, though, a lot more follow-up questions being pointed at AG. If they don't like an answer that he gives at the podium, I wouldn't be surprised if they try to fire off a follow-up question that really not necessarily gets under Aaron Glenn's skin, but you'll definitely start to see the rift as the season plays out. And if
because he was a dick to them,
and if we even get into the season, it's gonna be, it's gonna be crazy how they react to his answers at the podium.
All right, breaking Jets news. Brian Duker has been hired as the new defensive coordinator. So the guy they spoke to yesterday is now the DC. Duker, 36, most recently was the Dolphins pass game coordinator / secondaries coach. He's close with Aaron Glenn from their days with the Lions and now reunites with them in New York. So I got to be honest. Until yesterday, no one knew who Brian Duker was. He is now, according to Tom Pelissero, the new defensive coordinator for the New York Jets. So there you go. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get to a new breaking news stream and reset and kind of break all that down on a separate tab here. So I'm going to get to the last remaining super chats. Dom and then Dylan, they're going to be running off to the media center to do some prospect interviews. So we'll have a recap of that on the afternoon. But some breaking news live from the Senior Bowl that I'm seeing here. The Jets have a new DC. And by the way, Todd Monken, it appears, is going to be the next head coach of the Cleveland Browns. So much for Monken being the OC for Harbaugh. He got a head coaching job. So now who will the Giants hire as their head coach? But Todd Monken.
Sorry, the Giants are getting screwed on both counts. They really thought they were getting Todd Monken, and they really thought they were getting Jim Leonard, and it doesn't look like they're getting either. So I hated the Giants fans in my mentions telling me Jim Leonard was never going to be a Jet because he's taking the Giant job, and now he's probably taking neither, and you don't get Monken on top of it. So sorry, Giants fans, but suck it.
They have John Harbaugh.
Doesn't matter.
And Jackson Dart.
It's okay.
We have
again,
nothing.
we're not comparing, but when you set your expectations so high as a fan base, this is what happens. You get let down. We've seen it too much as a Jets fan.
Unbelievable. All right. Dylan and Dom, they're going to run. I'm staying on for the remaining super chats here. M123 says, Denver OC, question mark. One man's trash, another man's question mark. Joe Lombardi, maybe. I mean, there is a Glenn connection there. They overlapped in New Orleans. So perhaps a name to watch. Doug says, I am to believe this is going to be like the Gase year 2. Leave Glenn to be terrible, get a top pick, and I think Kevin O'Connell will end up the coach in 2027. We can hope it plays out that way. There's no guarantee he's available, though, and no guarantee that you can get a top coach a year from now. And again, you want to really waste another year? Garrett Wilson has to go through hell again. How many more years is he going to take before it gets untenable with him? I know they paid him, but, these guys are humans. Jay Petito in the raffle for 5. Hesitant to bet the Seahawks minus 4.5 to keep any Jet fan bad luck out of the game. Cannot deal with another Pats Super Bowl. Yeah, I feel that. I do think Seattle's the better team. They should be favorites. 4.5, though, kind of feels like we're teetering to a point where if it goes any higher, the value might actually be on the Patriots. I don't know. It is the Super Bowl, after all. Neil writes in, Rex gets Jim Leonard for sure as DC and hires a competent OC. We fix the D and win at least 6 to 9 games. Rex would take a fat 1-year deal with incentives. I don't know if Rex would take a 1-year deal. He probably would, but I don't think that's necessarily the right move either. Like, you're just gonna Rex, go coach the team. I just don't think that's gonna happen. Omar says, why does AG get to pick for the second time a whole new staff? What did he do to deserve that? He must give Woody some great hugs. Well, we know he hugs him every day. J-Lag says, Taylor Green, 6'6", dual threat, thoughts, late round. Impressive to watch in person yesterday, J-Lags. I will watch more today for you. It really is. Look, I'm not complaining. You know, it's great to be here at the Senior Bowl. And, you know, I guess some news is better than no news. But we haven't really been able to do a ton of draft talk and prospect talk because the Jets are such a mess. Marion Magnotti says, glad Belichick isn't a first ballot Hall of Famer. Huh. I mean, it is pretty amazing, right, that he's not. It really is. Bill Belichick is not a Hall of Famer on the first try. You got to laugh. You got to laugh. I do love that. Anyway. What do we got here? We got a new DC. That's what we have. I'm just trying to get caught up on everything here. It is a chaotic environment. Aaron Glenn hiring Brian Duker. I mean, he's going to call the plays. Again, if you're hiring Brian Duker, who has no play calling experience, that means Aaron Glenn is going to call the plays on defense. At least he's a young guy. Maybe there's some upside with Brian Duker. But again, I mean, Glenn is going down with a sinking ship. He's at least going to do it his own way. I understand the hire. He's not a name, but, like, it's going to be Glenn. Again, Glenn didn't want to call the defense, which is why he was going to hire Wink Martindale. But, like, they're not winning anyone. They're not winning anyway with this guy. Like, again, like, there's nothing to be excited about. You just got to hope that Glenn is, you know, able to magically learn how to be a great head coach when there's no signs of that. But Brian Duker, again, 36. He was the Dolphins pass game coordinator / secondary coach, and he's got a relationship with Aaron Glenn. They were together in Detroit. So going from Wink Martindale to a guy who's not going to coach anything, kind of is what it is. Dom C is here. Dom, thumbs up, thumbs down, Brian Duker. Yep, that's what I thought. Fantastic. Yep, thumbs down as well. Okay, don't know who that guy is. Dylan Terman going thumbs up. Cody Stutz is here. Cody, sit on down. Why not? I was going to end the show, but my old radio partner happened to be walking by. So let's add a little Kyra onto him. How are you, sir?
Is this? Do you want me to use this?
Yeah,
one
use
here?
that one. Yeah,
I'm a broadcast professional. Look at me go.
I love it.
I'm doing well. I'm excited for day 2 of the Senior Bowl. We get started a little earlier on this day with some interviews and stuff like that.
It'd be exciting to talk about any of that, but you know the Jets fired their OC yesterday, and they just hired a DC no one's ever heard of. Your thoughts?
Have I heard of him? What's his name?
Brian Duker comes from the Dolphins.
What a name!
Young guy.
What
it just
a
means
name.
Aaron Glenn's going to call the plays on defense.
Okay, it's good. It's probably some good experience for the Duker.
The Duke.
That's what we're gonna call him, the Duker, right?
We can call him the Duker.
The Duker. I just love where they put you, so that everybody has to walk by and hear about how bad Aaron Glenn is. I love that element of like where you are in the radio row. Like they could have put you like in some like less high traffic
No,
areas.
they put me where all the NFL teams have to come at
Yes,
us.
yes. There,
It's so true.
there's probably some NFL guy going around like talking back to people at the office. Like there was this guy killing Aaron Glenn over on Radio Row.
Well, a couple guys from the Jet staff walked by. They gave me a look and were like smiling. or
Oh
whatever.
wow, yeah, they know. They know.
They 100%. Yeah.
They're like, hey, we're scouting guys that are going to be on the team in the next couple of years, but the coach is not.
They're just hoping the GM, who's shown some competency, he could stick around so they could essentially stick around with the new head coach a year from now.
The Mooj.
Darren Moogey.
You guys got a lot of potential good nicknames. It's a shame that you're not better because the nicknames would be cool if the team was good, but the Mooj being the GM of a team that's not very good, it's not as cool of a nickname.
The Mooj.
Mooj.
Can you give us some Senior Bowl day one takeaways? Because I haven't been able to do a ton on it because we've been focused on the Jets, but you're watching everything. What stood out yesterday?
My guess is that you just kind of go with a little bit of a traditional look here for the Jets and just kind of go with maybe some trench stuff. So like maybe some pass rushers and stuff like that.
Yeah, pass rushers, receivers, linebackers.
So many defensive linemen here. In addition to the fact that there's a lot of really good defensive linemen that aren't at the Senior Bowl. Zion Young from Missouri was a freak yesterday on the edge. Lee Hunter from Texas Tech was nearly unblockable at defensive tackle and got some pass rush stuff going too. I mean, he's a big human, so you think, okay, space eater, but no, he's got a little bit more juice to him than that. So those would probably be my two like jump off the page guys at defensive line for yesterday. And then there were a couple of really nice offensive line performances. Keelan Rutledge, who's a guy who's at Georgia Tech, played a ton of football, primarily a guard, but he snapped the ball a little bit. So, there's a chance for him to play center at the next level. Jennings Dunker. You guys got the Duker and you can get the Dunker. Okay. He looked like a mountain out there. Like he's listed at the same height and weight as his teammate, Bo Stevens. And then you look at him and they're like, they don't like the composition is different between those two guys. So Dunker is a guy who can play a little tackle, play a little guard. That's an intriguing one. Didn't watch as much of the wide receivers, and I thought the tight ends were pretty disappointing overall. Like there was no like, ooh, wow moments from the tight ends. A lot of linebackers. So if you need a linebacker, there's a couple of guys in this one led by Jacob Rodriguez at Texas Tech. He had an awesome day yesterday. Fastest linebacker out there yesterday.
Guns up. Come on, you're a Red Raider.
That's my guy. So it's great to see what he put together. Scooby Williams, another guy from Texas. He went to Texas A&M. He had a good day. But it was led by the defensive linemen. They just dominated the offensive linemen for most of the day of both practices. So if you're thinking defensive linemen, there's plenty of guys to be looking at here.
What are your thoughts on Diego Pavia?
Short.
5'9", 3/4.
Yeah.
But he played well yesterday.
Yeah, he had some nice moments. I think a lot of people were disappointed overall with the quarterback play yesterday. And I think that led to some of the, there's not a lot of wow moments from the tight ends, not a lot of wow moments from the wide receivers because the QBs weren't great. The left-hander, Cole Payton, he actually had some nice throws, and he was probably, I guess, the standout quarterback yesterday, the one that nobody's ever heard of, in a group with Pavia and Robertson and stuff like that. Yeah, let's see what Pavia can do. I think the height's going to just get held against him. He's a huge outlier. Obviously, the college success is incredible, but it's not – I don't know if it's going to translate or carry over. But, yeah, Pavia was, I think you're either a love him or hate him guy. Like, I don't think anybody's just indifferent to Diego Pavia. I think you're kind of in the, I'd love to see him succeed, or that guy rubs me the wrong way.
All right. You covered the Texans. You still do.
Yep.
I was down with you. We did radio, of course. I want to bring up the name David Culley to you.
I'm not feeling it. We're not doing it.
Because Aaron Glenn is on the Culley level. Can you explain to the audience what David Culley, the head coach, was like and why I'm intimately equipped to discuss bad coaching after living through that?
He was just – it was very clear that David Culley was not there to be the long-term option. And he was the ultimate, like, he's happy to be there type of coach. It was like a fan won a competition to be coach. Like, they could have made a movie out of David Culley. And they could just change the story to he won a lottery to be the head coach for a year. And he was just always smiles. My favorite David Culley moment that had to do with actual football was he just totally mismanaged the clock at the end of a game against the Patriots. And the Texans weren't trying to win, but it was like, it still would have been nice to beat the Patriots. And he just mismanaged the clock. You get to the post-game press conference. People were asking him about it. And he's like, I don't recall. I don't really remember what happened. And it's like, it was literally 15 minutes ago. And he's like, I don't really remember the details, the intricacies. And I'm just like, okay, all right. Like Sean McVay could tell you the exact play he ran from like the third quarter of his 5th high school football game, and David Culley can't remember 20 minutes ago. Nice man. I think you'd love to play around a golf with him. He had no business being near a head coaching job in the NFL, and he had all these fun sayings. If we're going to punt and play defense, we're happy to punt. If I'm not feeling it, we're not doing it. Which is that's my favorite one. It was like that was about, I think, going forward on 4th down. Maybe there was so many just goofy moments, and he just was trying to get along throughout the course of the year and catch his paycheck. And it was just you could tell there was nothing there, and the sayings did nothing to add to the credibility that he had.
Aaron Glenn is actually trying to be a good coach.
Yeah.
He's not just happy to be here.
Right.
Came in cocky, peacocking, all these things, and he's an unmitigated disaster.
That's probably the more disappointing point about putting Aaron Glenn in the same category as David Culley, is because you probably had high hopes for Aaron Glenn, the former standout DB and a defensive coordinator that had a lot of success. Like David Culley was a wide receivers coach a year where the wide receivers caught 0 touchdowns for the Chiefs. Like the resumes are vastly different.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Do you miss doing the wheelhouse?
I do miss doing the wheel. I hear about the wheelhouse probably once or twice a week, either in the comment section of my shows or people tweet me, or somebody tweeted us the other day about how much they miss the wheelhouse. I think we should do like a summer wheelhouse show.
I like it.
You down for that?
I mean, BK's seemingly available now. I don't know what the heck's going on with him.
Jeez. Man, throwing the dirt on
I'm
him.
just saying. I reached out to him. He says he's got a big plan. Sounds
Oh,
like
you got
Aaron
a big
Glenn.
plan?
Aaron Glenn's got a plan
I
too.
got a plan, huh?
Just trust me, bro.
Hold on. Is BK going to fire all the coaches and call the plays himself?
It kind of sounds like that might have happened. I don't know what's going on in Texas sports unfiltered these days.
Yeah.
Oh,
we
man.
should do like a wheelhouse reunion show or something.
Are we going to get dinner tonight? Because you bailed on dinner last night. You missed me
fell
yelling about it.
asleep.
Aaron Glenn to Ian Rappaport.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he enjoyed it.
He's
like, they play hard for him. I go, Ian.
Oh God, the play hard.
I was like, oh my God. I was like, they lost their last 5 games by an NFL record 23 or more points.
If you, Ian Rappaport, and Diego Pavia were all standing next to each other and somebody was looking from far away, they wouldn't be able to tell who was who.
Pavia would slightly have me beat. I would beat Ian, though.
Yes.
I'd be second place.
It was funny watching Rappaport make his rounds to all the GMs on the sideline yesterday. He's, spent some time with Nick Caserio, spent some time with this GM, with that GM. It was fun watching Rappaport skitter around on the sidelines.
I like watching you move around.
I try not to move around. I try to get in a spot and just watch.
If we put like a Texans thing on you, we could pretend you're an offensive line coach. Be very easy.
Probably.
You coach the D-line.
Yeah.
O-line. One of them. Anyway.
Like, what was that? The coach that had the belly move when he did the hut?
Yep. Said hut.
Yeah.
Bob Wiley.
Yeah.
The great Bob Wiley.
Yeah, there you go.
Love it.
There you go.
I'll let you run. I'm going to
Okay.
end this stream as well
There
pretty
you go.
soon here.
Yeah, you got to get in there and talk to Pavia.
I got to get in there, talk to
Jets
people.
could draft a quarterback, right?
That's right.
No?
5'9" and
Don't-
3/4.
Don't do that.
Second overall.
Don't draft a quarterback.
Yeah, probably not.
I
Well,
saw a mock draft with Ty Simpson at 2, and I just
shoot me.
I hit X on the mock draft right away.
15 career starts.
It's terrible. That's a horrible mock draft. I stopped. I love a mock draft. I'll listen to any mock draft, and I saw that, and I was like, I'm not looking at the rest of this.
Yeah, you love to get your mock on.
Yeah, mock all over the place.
He's Cody Stutz. He's stopping by here live from Radio Row here in Mobile. All right, last chance here. I'm going to see if I missed any super chats, and then we will wrap things up shortly. I thought about doing an emergency stream for Duker, but again, it didn't really matter who they hired. Glenn's calling the plays on defense. Like, that is the most obvious takeaway from this coaching decision. And again, here are Aaron Glenn's defensive rankings as a play caller in yards per game and points per game. I've shown the stats before. Connor Hughes has posted a tweet that basically has it all surmised here, so be easy to pull up and showcase. I'll put it up on the screen, and then we'll get out of here. Also, the guy's last name being Duker, by the way. I mean, there's a lot of jokes that are going to be made there. Yards per game, points per game. You guys see it on the screen now. 2024, they were 20th in yards, 7th in points. 2023, they were 23rd in yards and 23rd in points. 2022, they were 32nd in yards and 30th in points. 2021, 29th and 31st. So, again, this hire doesn't matter. Ultimately, it will be Aaron Glenn as the de facto play caller, something he was vehemently against doing. But I guess something changed. What he basically said, I'm not hiring both Wink Martindale and Frank Reich. I'm sure money came into it. It's like, why am I paying you $12.5 million to be a head coach when your side of the ball is defense? So that's kind of my feeling on this. Nick Shine with a super chat. Glenn to call plays now. Add that to the list of decisions he originally made that had to be altered. Also, F all things, Duke. Go Tar Heels. Well played. Striped Underwear says Jets Johnny licks AG's boots clean. Well, that we know. I mean, Jets Johnny is probably the number one Glenn bootlicker. He lives for the bootlicking.
Well, he's a bootlicker, Glenn Butt Sniffer, putting perfume on a pig and telling Jake, check this out. He's a bootlicker, Aaron Glenn Truther, holding out a rope and trying to sell us on this shit show.
Bootlickers assemble. I mean, that is a fact.
Just don't let go of the rope.
Don't let go. Don't let go. All right. You guys are great. I will be back this afternoon. We will have more comprehensive coverage from the Senior Bowl. Some takeaways from practice, perhaps. I know we haven't done a ton of it because the Jets remain relevant with the coaching stuff. But I'll have more on the defensive coordinator this afternoon. I'll do another lengthy show once we kind of get more information. We might get more news on the OC stuff as well. But I appreciate everyone hanging out. You guys are the best. We'll be back later. Again, thanks for your support. Hit the like button. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel. And I will talk to you guys soon, live from Mobile. Go Jets.
Oh, hi. Jake wants me to ask you to click on the like button.
That's right, Lane. And if they don't subscribe to the Jake Asman Show, this team may never win another game. Let's go Jets.